record and
hey.
Just ride it for a minute.
All right. It's the North Cat, baby. I'm a boss. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Hello, GUNN.
What's
hello,
up, man?
Hello.
Peace. Good to see you.
You too. Welcome.
You look healthy. You look happy. It's some good energy coming from your direction, so that's cool.
Yes. Thank you. I love to hear that. Thank you for joining me on the exchange today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are you? How have you been? I know Black August Park just ended in August. Now we're in October. Happy October 1st.
Yeah, thank you. I'm good. I'm as we discussed before, I'm blessed. I feel like 2020 is reminding us to be grateful for what we would have in previous years described as the little things. You know what I'm saying? But they're really the big things: family, friends, life, health. Things like nature, right? Like being able to go outside and breathe clean air. We value that a lot more now. You know what I'm saying? So
indeed,
I'm great. I'm fortunate, man. It's been a challenging year for so many people, and not that it hasn't been challenging for me and my family in some ways, but I'm happy to get a chance to wake up every morning and try it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like gratitude. Like that's where the real power is.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting like all these text bangs in the background. Yeah, man, I've been trying to center gratitude in my life, and it changes things. Like I wake up every morning and think about all the things I'm grateful for before I start my day. And so like when things happen that make me worry, or let me see if I can turn this off. I'm sorry. Things that make me worry or afraid, or all the anxiety that comes with COVID, and in conjunction with the constant onslaught of Black people being murdered, it can be really daunting. So I remind myself to be grateful for something every day, and that's been keeping me sort of balanced throughout the year. So I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, me too. I agree. And even yesterday, like just finding appreciation in the sun going down, like the fact that I was able to catch my well-lit golden room, and I was like, did I leave a light on? And it was just the sun. And I was like,
beautiful.
Oh my goodness, how amazing.
Yeah. I hope that spirit carries over for everybody after this, right? I hope people remember to be more grateful. We get a little spoiled, but COVID is reminding us to get back to basics. So hopefully that carries over.
Yeah, and our freedom. I think we take our freedom for granted. I think one of the things that I was grateful for this morning, I was like, I'm so grateful that I get to take a shower in privacy.
Yeah, word up.
Or I could be like having to take showers with a bunch of other people. Like you just never know. You think about internment camps and all kinds of things that are going on now. You just never know.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact.
And you're an activist. And I was just kind of reading up on this interview from Indie Week and with Jade Wilson.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing photographer, by the way.
Okay,
yeah.
That's a good thing to know, because I would love.
Yeah. Jade is the shit.
Okay, all right, that's good to know.
Can we curse on your podcast?
Say whatever the hell you want to say.
All right, word up.
Yes. And I really appreciate. I was moved by it. I appreciate one of the things I took some notes on it, and you said something. I'm going to quote you. You said the root of all of our challenges is economics and the ability to provide for our families. And then you said, I think violence is most often a function of poverty. Folks aren't out here breaking the law because they're bad people. They're breaking the law because they're making an economic decision. When scarcity exists, people are fighting over food. So I have to ask you, because the reason why I'm doing the exchange is because like this question popped up in my head, and that was, what problem would you dedicate the rest of your life to solving?
Yeah.
And for me, I know those problems are misery and poverty. So as a licensed therapist, I'm helping people with that, you know, and then I've got like, I'm developing my serial entrepreneurial mindset. But for you, based on this answer, I mean, it holds so much. Can you just share more?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about mitigating or eliminating poverty too, right? Like, I think it's two sides to that coin, right? So many of the challenges that we face in our nation, in our cities, even in our neighborhoods is centered around this concept of scarcity, right? And like, whether scarcity is even real or not is another conversation we should have, because I think that the planet provides plenty for all of us, right? But we've created these systems where some people have a lot and some people have none, right? And a lot of that is steeped in racism. A lot of it is steeped in sort of one group of people trying to hoard resources and prevent others from accessing them. Another long conversation. But broadly speaking, the sort of symptom of that is these concentrations of poverty that we have, right? Like we call them the hood, right? We're like, oh, you know, that's the hood. We drive through the hood, but you know, and we know when we're in the hood, like you can tell. And what you're seeing is the poverty that exists, right? It's like there's, through many intentional steps, our nation has created pockets of wealth and pockets of poverty, oftentimes adjacent to one another, right? You know, you're from Philly, right? There's neighborhoods in Philly that are as poor. The poorest neighborhoods in Philly are not far from the wealthiest, right? And I always think about Camden when I think about Philly. Like, people who live in Camden have to look right across the river at this beautiful skyline of Philadelphia that it's a 5-minute drive across the bridge. And it's crazy. I've been spending time in St. Louis lately, and across the river from St. Louis is East St. Louis, Illinois, which is like one of the poorest cities in the country. And it's the same thing. If they look out their window at their apartment, from their apartment in East St. Louis, they see this glorious skyline in St. Louis where all the money is, right? And that's always been like, even as a kid, I always noticed that. Like, why is one side of the river got everything and the other side has nothing, right? So, you know, becoming more of a student of economics and understanding that, I've become really passionate about eliminating poverty. And what I'm really trying to do is call people on their bluff, right? So like people in Durham, where I'm from, talk all the time about crime, right? So much crime in our city, and people are being killed and shot. And I say, so what do you want to really do something about it? And I think some people think they do, but what they really want to do is just lock people up, right? They're like, all right, if we just lock up all the bad people, right? We lock up all the bad people, then there'll be no more crime. History tells us that's not a solution to our problem. Root causes of crime are essentially poverty, scarcity, right? So I'm super passionate about solving that. That's one of the reasons why I do the work I do with like chambers of commerce and consulting with communities on how to build stronger entrepreneurial ecosystems. It's all steeped in my desire to make our world more equitable. You know what I mean? Like,
please talk more about entrepreneurial ecosystems. Like, what is that?
Well, it's just like, when we think of entrepreneurs, like you and me, right? We had an idea and we go out and we work our ass off to turn that idea into a business and make money and hire people and grow our own little tiny economic engine. But we can only get so far without a supportive ecosystem, right? And so there are components in places like Silicon Valley, right, California, where all these tech startups happen. They don't just happen because Steve Jobs was brilliant. He was smart, but he had so much support, right? He had people that he could go get money from. He had lawyers that could teach him about contracts and engineers that he could use to help develop his products. That's an ecosystem, right? But communities are now recognizing that we have to be intentional about building those. And I think if we're intentional about surrounding people with the things they need to succeed, all of our communities will be better for it, right? Because it's two sort of thoughts, and you got me on my soapbox now, so just tell me to chill. We can grow jobs, we can bring in Amazon and Apple and big companies in the communities to hire people. And I think that's an important thing to do, because not everyone is an entrepreneur.
Right.
But a more sustainable way to grow economies is by helping people with brilliant ideas turn those into businesses. So entrepreneurial ecosystems do that. And the communities that have bought into that are doing really well with it, you know, and those that are behind the curve are struggling.
It's crazy. So the first thing that came to my mind when you said that, first of all, I love that, you know, people help people with their brilliant ideas, grow them into a business, create,
Yeah.
you know, the power of creativity. And then I think also like there's the whole mindset thing, the whole mindset concept. I mean, where does poverty come from? And like you said, that's a whole nother conversation, but you're talking to somebody who's just all about energy anyway, and the mind, and just helping people to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And like, why is it so hard to just like cross over? Like you might have an entrepreneurial mindset, or you might not have an entrepreneurial mindset, but you have a brilliant idea. So how do you draw that connection? So those are some of the things that I'm always thinking about, because I have like fought to become that person that's not just a person walking around with brilliant ideas, but somebody who manifests a building around that idea. And now you got me thinking like a whole ecosystem out of that idea.
That's right. Yeah. And you would be so much more powerful if you had the right supportive ecosystem around you, because that energy that you have and that brilliant idea can't exist in a vacuum. You gotta have people to help catalyze that and turn that into a business. You know what I'm saying? And when we, not to talk about race too much, if you want to, we can, but that's one of the reasons why there is such a dearth of Fortune 100 companies that are owned by Black people, because society has sort of separated us from one another and separated us from the resources that we need to grow our businesses, right? Like I referenced Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and you name it, right? I ain't said nobody Black yet, right? And the few cases where we do sort of rise to the top are far and few between, because we don't have the resources that we need, because we're brilliant, right? They're brilliant people in every community. So why aren't we seeing more Black entrepreneurs? And my perspective is because there's not a supportive ecosystem around us to take, we launched a thing called the Black Market in Durham, I guess 4 years ago now. And it's Black businesses coming together on Black Friday and, selling their products. And it's so many dope companies, so many great ideas that exist there. But what's stopping them from scaling and becoming global brands? And that's really the lack of an ecosystem.
That's the word. That's like my favorite word right now. Scaling. I think
yeah, man.
And then Black market. And it's so crazy because I used to kind of be upset about the idea of having to work on a holiday or having to work on Black Friday, until that discomfort's turned into like, well, you need to create what you want then. Like if you don't want to have to go to work that's been my excuse. I've always been working, and this is the year that I'm like, guess what? I can come to Black Market. I can celebrate my Lady of the House body oil.
That's right.
Myself.
That's right.
I can help people get, this and that, so.
Come on out. Come on out. I don't know what it's going to look like in COVID, right? But next year we'll be back to normal. I think something will happen this year, but a better version will be next year for sure.
Okay, that's good to know. And you did, and I guess this is like one last thought about economics and the ecosystem that I have, is like in Winston-Salem. I don't know if you heard about like the innovation quarter that they were doing, venture cafe, and they were like bringing people in. And I'm thinking like maybe that's the ecosystem that you're talking about, where people were like, go ahead.
Yeah, that's ecosystem building. Yep, that's like the first step, right? And as ecosystems mature, they become more sophisticated, and a mature ecosystem means you have a great idea, you have created a viable product, you're able to plug in and get everything you need to scale that business, right? Okay. So things like Venture Cafe, Innovation Corridor. In Durham, we have a place called the American Underground that started about 10 years ago. And it's a really successful entrepreneurial ecosystem. I think they've had About 100 companies come out of there to the tune of about $100 million in investment, right? So that's real people with ideas coming together, getting everything they need to take those ideas to the next level and getting real tangible money, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem with places like American Underground is that they were concentrated on technology, and technology was heavily white male dominated. So my partners and I created a place called Provident 1898, which is designed to be an entrepreneurial ecosystem for Black-led companies.
Mm-hmm.
And we started about a year ago. And honestly, COVID has been really challenging for us because we're centered around connecting people, and that's harder to do in this environment. But we are starting to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem for Black folks,
Okay.
which is the next phase. Atlanta's done a pretty good job of that. DC has done a really good job of building that. But there are not very many other places across the country that have strong Black ecosystems for entrepreneurs. So I'm passionate about that. We could talk all day about that if you want to, but I know you got some other stuff you want to get to.
I do, but this Provident 1898 though, like, okay, so now my wheels are turning.
All right.
My wheels are all the way turning. Like, and I remember, like, so for many of people who might be watching this or listening, they don't, realize, like, maybe they don't understand how I know you or whatever, but we went to A&T, North Carolina
Mm-hmm.
University.
We go way back for anybody that's watching it. Way back, man. Yeah.
Class of 2002, or at least
No.
that's the class that we came in at.
Yeah, we started in 02. Yeah, I didn't graduate on time though, so I didn't graduate till 2008. So
me too. Okay, I didn't realize we graduated the same year.
Yeah, we did. We had a long journey at A&T.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like a whole lot of life. A&T has so many opportunities for you to get distracted. I think
that's right.
I mean,
that's right. But I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It made me better, I think, and it's amazing. So yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were talking about A&T.
Yeah. No, so I just want to kind of go back to my first memory of you with like a little curly fro and like a microphone, and like I think I wasn't even in Couture yet. I think this was one of the first events that I went to. Maybe it was happening in the old sit-in, and you were freestyling. It was like my first freestyle battle that I had attended.
Yeah.
Wow, this dude can totally rap. And then like all these collaborations happen. I feel like A&T had its own ecosystem within itself of creativity.
Yeah, it is an ecosystem. That's right. Absolutely. So when I talk about HBCUs, that's what we're talking about. Like, you can build anything you want at an HBCU because you're connected. It's the one time in your life where you're connected to thousands of Black folks with talent, ideas, resources, right? We got people from all over the country at A&T, all over the world, and people are good at, it's a community and people support each other. For me as an artist, it opened up so many doors for me, Imana. Like, I, pledged a fraternity, which I was on their radar because of what I was doing with the microphone, right? I went on 106 in Park because Terrence was up there, right? And he's a Aggie, and my frat brothers were like, man, let's get up there, let's see if we can get on. BET came to our school, so I was able to be on BET, right? So it connects you to so many people that can help you, and no matter what you're doing, right? Like, not just traditional jobs, like entrepreneurial shit, fashion, art, food. I done bought so many catering things from Aggies since I've been married and had kids. Like, if I need to get a cake, I'll go get the cake from a Aggie bakery. You know what I'm saying? And you've got a built-in audience for whatever you want to do, and that's an ecosystem. And A&T is special, man. Special place.
Yeah. And I guess like some people would, and then you had, so you started Red Eye Lifestyle. I love that. I love, like, okay, when you shake, I shake. I start.
I'm on my phone and I've got I'm trying to hold it up and not look crazy. So bear with me.
You're fine. This is the wonder of technology, is we get to just be where we're at doing.
That's right.
That's right. Like, I want to be a part of the show too.
Yeah.
But I think about, what I love? I love that slogan that you have, no sleep, just dream. in the red eye lifestyle. And it's something that's just always stuck with me. Like, don't number one, like, don't sleep on yourself, you know, stay woke, always have your dream in your mind. But where did that come from for you?
It's kind of simple. So, I had a conversation with my frat brother, Rashad. I don't know if you remember Rashad, but, and it was before I graduated. I was like, man, the whole, like, no sleep, just go get it. We're grinding. We're focused on our dreams. And I was like, man, after I graduate, I'm going all in on my dream, right? I ain't doing nothing else. I'm focusing all my energy and attention on my dream, which at the time is, being a professional musician, touring the world, making movies, making music, making money from music, right? And I had graduated and got a job, and job was paying what I thought was a lot of money, but it wasn't. Like, in retrospect, it was just a regular check, right? But coming from a college kid who had no money, getting some money feels like a lot of money. And I completely lost focus on my dream. So apparently in that conversation I'd had with Rashad, I mentioned, like, red eye lifestyle. Like, we going, no sleep, our eyes are red, we're focused on our dream. We're also sort of a double entendre. We on the planes, we're traveling, we're making this shit happen. And how effective could we be if we dedicated all of our time and energy and resources to our dream? And, a year later or so, he called me like, man, whatever happened to red eye lifestyle? You said you were going to be, all in on your dream, but you all in on the 9 to 5. You're not even, creating. And he kind of called me on my bluff, and I was like, man, I don't know where to start. And he was like, let's start with the red eye lifestyle. Let's create a company centered around that conversation we had. And 2009, we started it. I leaned back all the way into music, and man, we had a lot of success with just dedicating ourselves. Red eye lifestyle is really just about, laser focus, dedication to your dreams. I'm getting older now and I need more sleep, so I'm still trying to balance that motto. But philosophically, I still believe very strongly in being laser focused on your dreams.
Yeah, like, life will slow you down, and then it's just waves. I think everything is just waves. It's just, sometimes you're, but if you're focused, then you'll always just be even. You'll always have a baseline. You'll always know where you're going. I think that's amazing. And I think about, like, your transition from moving in from the entertainment industry, being exposed to and aligned with leaders in the business, leaders in the game, like Dame Dash, like, to then moving to activism, fatherhood, like, husbandry, husband, marriage, that's the word I'm looking for. Marriage, fatherhood, parenthood. Like, how did that transition happen for you? How were you able to kind of bring it all together?
Man, it kind of just happened to me at first. And the difference for me was really embracing where my life was going and owning it. And being honest with myself about what the dream I had was for. Like, when I started making music, it was like to entertain people, but to inspire people, and to build a network of people that cared about similar issues and to impact the world in a way. But somewhere along the line, when chasing your dream, you get blinded by, like, money and fame and, all the lights and the cameras. And I confused that with being my dream for a while. So, when I had my daughter, I went on tour to Korea when my daughter was 3 months old. So I had this, got booked for an international tour, which is a big deal for me. And was having a great time, performing 8 shows in 6 days or whatever it was, and just rocking out and getting mad love. But I missed my daughter so much, you know what I'm saying? To the point where I had, like, on the plane ride home, just a whole thought about, what really matters to me? Do I want to be, famous, or do I want to be happy? You know what I'm saying? Do I want to spend my time worried about what people who I don't know think about me, or do I want to be there for my family and my daughter and my wife and create a lifestyle for them that can give them opportunities that I didn't have? Like, what really matters to me? So the transition kind of happened naturally after I went through that process and realized, you know, everything that I'm working hard for is for that. Like, I'm trying to create this family, and this is what I've always wanted. And that sort of sparked, I think, what you would describe as activism. You know, I guess I'm an activist in some ways, but I'm not. I want to give all respects to the people that are really on the front lines. You know, but I'm just passionate about creating a better world for my kids, so I fight for that. So that's where the transition was just natural. You know, it was like, what matters to me, centering what my dream actually is. And that was really what I'm doing now, being here for my family and creating opportunities for other people.
That is it's selfless. I don't even like that word. I think I've been like, but it's grounding, you know, It's grounding to think about like more than just yourself while still like you're still benefiting. So like you're able to live the dream and I guess it's success, right? Like success has different definitions for different people. I'm just wondering, you know, how would you define success?
Ah, man. I was hoping you didn't ask me that.
Is it cliche? Oh, damn.
No, it's just a tough one to answer. Because it's multifaceted, right? Like, success though is happiness, right? Like, I mean, I had this debate with somebody recently, and they were like, I don't think happiness is the goal. Like, I don't think being happy is what they were like. I don't think that maybe she said being happy isn't possible, or like, excuse me, like the conversation we're having was about, you know, nobody's happy all the time, right? And I think we think about happiness as like, I'm always smiling and laughing and everything is going good, but that ain't what I think about when I think of happiness. I think of the feeling of like being able to look in the mirror and be proud of who you are, right? And like being proud of what you stand for and being able to sleep peacefully at night knowing that you gave it your best shot. Like, that's success for me, right? Being happy. And I ain't saying that I've arrived there, but I know what I'm looking for. And I'm not looking for happiness from the outside world. I'm talking about like internal happiness. You know what I mean? Like, that's success, I guess. There's some things that go along with it, things that I want. You know what I mean? Like, I want some shit, right? Like, but you know, what I have some things too, and you know, being like you mentioned, being around Dame and being around Snoop and Jermaine Dupri and Birdman and, you know, Rolls Royces and Bentleys and mansions and seeing firsthand like that don't really bring happiness. Like, you know, it sounds cliche. People say it all the time. And when you don't have any money, you like, yeah, right. Let me just get some money and see, right? Like, let me see if that makes me happy. But being around that and having some success myself and having some things, like the things don't make you happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might make you more comfortable, or really those things make you, when you're around other people, I think like your insecurities, you be like, look at my car. Now you feel better about yourself. But that ain't happiness. And so me, like, I'm driving towards being happy and being able to look in the mirror like, yeah, I'm comfortable with who this dude is.
It's a painful lesson to learn. I mean, that's another book within itself. Like my book, I Got Issues, I didn't even talk about half the lessons that I learned, like in it, I think. And really, maybe because I hadn't learned them yet.
Yeah.
But just going for things from the outside instead of going for things from the inside out, you know, working from the outside in, it will create frustration. And I've been there. I know what that feels like. And I've been in that exposure will do it to you every time if you're not solidly grounded.
Yeah.
And I think there's a one of my favorite people. She was saying, someone had asked her, like, you know, she was a life coach, and anyway, she was saying that, well, I might be miserable in divorce, but at least I can cry in my Maserati. What can you do? You know, that was like, ooh. You know, like, I mean, I guess that's a perspective. That's a shift in perspective. But
that's a really hollow one to me though. Like, that one ain't like, man, I'm like, yo, I've been like in the presence of like these, you know, Kanye and like these guys that got everything financially, you know what I'm saying? And I would much rather, keeping it a band, much rather smile and be happy with a regular ass life than be crying in a Maserati. I ain't, that's just not that ain't my thing, man. Like, cause that Maserati gonna eventually break down on your ass. And, the human beings that matter in your life are much more important. You know what I mean? And I like cars and shit, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I like driving a nice car, and, like the house we live in, and I'm grateful for those things. But it's my family, my wife, kids, my mother, that's the shit, right? That's what I want to make them proud and keep them safe. So look, that lady that said that, I feel that broke my heart. I felt bad for her in that moment. Like, damn.
It's a shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a shift in perspective. To think about it that way, I guess being on the other side and seeing how people struggle through life who don't have, it can be very extreme, and then I don't know, like it is a whole nother conversation and exploration within itself, to understand the mind of a rich person or the minds of rich people. Like, everybody doesn't, what is rich, right? That I want to circle back around to what you said about happiness and internal happiness. That was, and I thought it was so cool. I practice Buddhism. I've been practicing for like, I don't know, 13 years.
Almost as long as I've known you, I think.
Yeah, like, and I was born in the Nation of Islam. Like, I was born Muslim. Like,
your pops was FOI or something, right?
Yep, mother was MGT, daddy was FOI, bean pies and bow ties. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I got a lot of love for the nation. I know it's complex, but I got a lot of love for the nation. But anyway, another podcast, another talk.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, it's so, like, my father and my mother, and that was one of the things that I didn't even bring up. Like, my father became a Muslim in jail, like a lot of Black men do. He robbed banks. So when you talk about violence stemming from poverty, I mean, he had 5 daughters, that he couldn't feed. He lost his job, and he ended up robbing banks to put food on the table.
Yeah.
In a friendly way in Baltimore, Maryland. And then he went to jail and, did his little bit of time, found Allah, and then met my mama when he got out. And then they had me.
Yeah.
They're nice, righteous marriage.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool though. That's really cool. And I'm sure he's happy he had you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, God rest his soul.
There's so much in that story though. So much of what you just said is so many Black people's story, right? Like, poverty, scarcity led me to make a decision, and now I'm paying the consequences, and now so is my family. Like, one of the things, I'm going way off the rails now, but I lived downtown Durham for like the past 7 years, and the jail is like right in the middle of the city, and on Sundays, I guess, is like visitation day. And the most heartbreaking scene is all these mothers with their kids standing outside the jail, making signs to their, you know what I mean, to their father, or their husband, or whoever is inside. Yeah. And it's so many of them, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not the same people every weekend. It's a different cycle of people and their Black faces, all heartbroken, and the system is failing us. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's beautiful that your father was able to overcome that in some ways and find religion to help guide him through, and have your beautiful self, you know what I'm saying, come into the world. But it's just frustrating. That's why I'm passionate about economics, because it's rooted in that. You know what I mean? Like, it's all economics, and it's a capitalist country, so everything is economics. Anyway, go ahead.
And but it's economics. I don't understand economics. Like, I feel like I'm on this path, like this financial journey right now, just because I want to transform my financial karma. Because watching like both of my parents like manage like finances and money, like I did not, and so now it's like, well, it's nobody's fault. Like, you can't blame your parents. Like, where's the character in that? And so it's character building for me to be on this financial journey I'm on, of understanding things. And what I'm learning through it is it's a lot of it has to do with mindset. And so, when you're in jail, you have a lot of opportunities to read a lot of books. And I think my father must have tapped into something while he was on the other side of like making things happen. And so when he came out and he met my mom had 7 kids of her own before, or six kids of her own before she, had me.
So it's 12. You have 12. You have 11 siblings.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I have 13. So actually my mother and my father both had 6 kids each before they married each other.
Wow.
Yeah. So my dad had 6 daughters. My mom had 3 daughters, 3 sons.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
that's a lot.
Right. And so like for my dad, he was like, my mom said, we need a house. And so my dad was like, okay, we'll go get one. And then he was like, well, I want a kid. My mom was like, well, and so they went and got one, a 3-story house in Germantown, Pennsylvania. Beautiful home with like 7 bedrooms. He couldn't do that.
Wow.
With no job, no credit, and a felon,
Yeah.
And like, if my mom said, I want to have, I want a store, he would go get a building and give her a store. Like there was no limits for him. And so I wonder what that looks like as we're teaching economics. I feel like we don't get taught a lot of the things that the 1% get taught. That's why the 1%, and I guess for me, it's like ending poverty means closing that gap somehow.
Yeah. It's education, and I don't have an economics degree, so I'm learning as best I can too, and I sort of learned what I have learned so far from a social lens, like watching the outcomes of economic inequity, watching the outcomes of systemic racism, and being like, okay, it's really 2 ways to think about the way our country is structured, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like, I'm going to oversimplify this, but I think it's relevant. If the majority of people in jail are African American, which is true, Black folks, right? Majority of people in jail are Black.
Right.
In most American cities, the majority of the poor people are Black, right? You look at that data and you can say one of 2 things. You can either say Black people are broken and they're more prone to poverty and crime, or you can say the system is broken and it is unfairly placing Black people in positions to be poor and commit crimes.
Right.
And like, obviously if you look at it the first way, it's racist, right? So, but I spend a lot of my time challenging white folks in positions of power with that statement. Like, so what do you think when I show you this data that says, 1 in 3 Black males will be in prison at some point in their life? What do you think about that? You know what I'm saying? And really challenge them. Because if you think Black people are more likely to commit crimes, then you're a racist. Right? So you have to admit that the system is fucked up and people are unfairly put in positions to commit crimes. And then we unpack the economics of it from there. Like, why are people in those positions? And sort of back into the solution. How do we create more opportunities for jobs? How do we create ecosystems so people can start businesses, right? And your pop sounds to me like a person that was a survivor. Like, he was like, I'm gonna get it by any means. But, and that's a lot of us, you know what I mean? But why should we have to exist in a world where we gotta risk our lives or risk our freedom just to do basic things like start a store, right? Like white people start businesses every day, you know what I mean? And they don't have to do anything sketchy to get it done. They just be like, hey, Pops, I want to start a store. Can you loan me $1 million? Sure. You know what I'm saying? And so then they just learned about entrepreneurship and credit at the same time. I didn't start even learning about credit until I was like 27.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
And my parents didn't manage money well, but then there's also privilege in that too. Like, people talk about managing money well. It's hard to manage money well when you ain't got enough money. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, you want me to manage money well, but I don't even have enough coming in to pay the bills to survive. I got X amount of kids, and my pops had 7 kids too. So it's like, and he was, doing the best he could, but it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack with that, and that's like my new passion is figuring that shit out.
I love that.
So anyway, I'll be rambling, yo. I'll be rambling.
That's okay. This is it. You know, the exchange is for the ramble, you know, and I know you have like an amazing charity. Your wife is just.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best. She listens to me ramble all the time. I don't know how she puts up with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a sacrifice. And that's kind of my question too. You know, what have you had to, not so much what have you had to sacrifice. I don't want to have you put all your life out there or anything, but like, what does sacrifice mean to you now as a husband and a father?
Yeah. Sacrificing, I don't know, man. Like I'm I guess on the surface, I've sacrificed some selfish desires, right? Like a lot of the things, that I want for myself. Like I'll give you an example. So I was getting my hair cut and I told my barber, I haven't bought any new sneakers in a while. And, you know, we were talking about like Jordans and shit. And I guess when I said it, he assumed that, man, I didn't have any money to buy any new sneakers. And I'm like, nah, I'm okay, right? I could buy the sneakers if I wanted to, but I'd much rather buy things for my kids, right? Or stack up money for my kids' college. And so maybe not sacrifice, but just reprioritize, which sometimes, you know, when we get in an argument or something, I'm like, damn, I'm spending all my money on y'all. I could, you know, like you get selfish again, right? So I don't know if it's as much a sacrifice as it is just reprioritizing. But then in terms of like my music career, I guess I have sacrificed going on the road as much, you know, going out and networking with other musicians and late nights in the studio and those things I don't do as often, you know what I mean? Because I'd rather put my kids to bed, you know what I mean? Or so I guess that's a sacrifice, but really it's just, it ain't that bad to me. It's like kind of cool. Like I'm enjoying being a dad and a husband, and you know, focusing on other endeavors too is kind of dope.
Yeah, because guess what? You can look at yourself in the mirror and not have any regrets about what really matters, especially right now. And ain't nobody touring. Like, who's doing it?
That's true. Yeah. you know, speaking about like higher powers, and I pray often, and I'm grateful for like the other things that I do instead of music. Cause I'm like, man, if I was dependent upon show money, which for the most part of my career, you know, records don't sell the way they used to. Everyone's streaming everything. So shows is where you make your money, right? Shows and selling merchandise at the shows. And I'm like, damn, if I was waiting on show money right now, I'd be really in a tough spot. So, you know, God directing me towards these other passions, right? Like building ecosystems and economic development and consulting work that I've been doing, that's a blessing. Because, you know, if I was just waiting on that next tour, man, I'd be calling you to borrow some money or something.
Okay, and or I would be like, let me tell you how to trade in the foreign exchange market. That's what I've learned. Right. But I think that's where the fortune is. Like when we're in the midst of adversity, or when it seems like our back is against the wall, it's like we all are like inherently Swiss Army knives. That's the way I'm looking at it now. Like multiple streams of income is wealth. So being able to say, okay, like I can do this. I'm still collecting royalties on my,
that's right,
somebody streams my music.
That's right. You know, please keep streaming my music. I own all my masters, so
all of them.
Stream it. Yeah.
Okay, and then like, and I got this project and this project and this. You know, like you're on your way to becoming a billionaire just because you're just walking in your purpose. You know, that's the way I look at it, especially when you're talking about ecosystems, things that people really aren't talking about. You know, that's like that's my new favorite word. Scale ecosystem.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, man, God is good. I'm in a good space and excited about what we're doing. I'm excited about what you're doing too, though. This is really cool, man. It's allowing people to share their thoughts and you share yours, sharing good energy with each other. Really, really dope.
Yeah, it's an exchange for sure. And I want to talk to you more about, I've got like these, I have a lot of dreams. So like when I books and books of them, like, you know, of things that I want to do and goals, and now I've narrowed them down to just like a postcard, like just an index card, but a nonprofit, you know, like what that looks like, how to create one, who do I want to be on my board, you know, things like that. No.
But that's a very important decision. And if I can help, you know, holla at me. I'm happy to help, participate, support, contribute. I've always thought highly of you, and you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you're motivated, you're amazing. I got you, whatever you need on my end.
Waving my feather, thank you. I am a light some sage. Thank you. I just appreciate all of that energy. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
all
you.
good. All good. Okay, I keep dropping my phone, but I need to wrap up soon. So what else can I answer for you? I want to make sure I give you what you need. I smell the incense burning too, or the sage in me right now. I appreciate it.
Really, you know, Josh, that was it. I really I just appreciate you taking the time to share this energy in this space with me.
Yeah.
That's something that maybe people can watch 10 years from now and be like, yes.
Yeah, look at what they built. Look at what they built after that conversation.
A whole ecosystem.
Let's build it. Let's build it. Okay.
Yes,
love to you and yours. Best to you and the family. And let's do this again sometime.
Thank you, Josh. Peace.
All right. Peace.
That's amazing.